call the Board of Works meeting to order. Phyllis, if we could have a roll call, please.
Craig Koshoff, absent. Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. You were emailed a copy of the minutes from the June 16th meeting, Bill. July 16th meetings. Thank you, Phyllis. If you've had a chance to review those minutes, I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve as emailed.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. First thing on the agenda this evening is a petition to be seen in front of the Board of Works from Ryan Miller. Are you Ryan?
It's Mosier.
Mosier. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mosier. If you want to come forward, you can sit right here. Kurt, you'll probably need to come up as well. Set up here by Barb, if you would. You got a letter dated July 12th we sent, saying that on June 28th, an inspection of your premises at 128 South 9th revealed the following violations per the City of Decatur Code of Ordinances: dangerous animals and reptiles, nuisance, noxious odors in a residential district with uses permitted. You're hereby notified to remove the mice, rats, and reptiles within 30 days from the date of this notice. That being August 12th, if you wish to petition this order, you must respond in writing within 5 business days of the Board of Public Works and Safety for review of the determination and order. Failure to comply can result in the animals or reptiles being impounded until such order is complied with. For a matter of record, Phyllis, I have 2 letters from neighbors. One saying we could not attend the public hearing about this matter but would like to share our concerns. A few months ago, we heard from a neighbor that Mr. Mosier was raising mice and rats in his garage. It was at a point that we realized where the smell we had noticed on several occasions was coming from. At a later time, we noticed there were bags of garbage and other dirty containers set outside of the garage near the alley. It was after those items appeared that the smell increased. There also seemed to be an abnormal amount of flies in the area that seemed to be coming from the bags and containers. We were rather disturbed to learn from the letter sent to us that Mr. Mosier is also raising snakes. We both have a fear of snakes and do not want to be living near a home where snakes are being raised. There are several neighborhood children that play in the street and alley near Mr. Mosier's home. We would be very concerned for their safety if the snakes, mice, or rats were to get loose. We're also concerned that if the reptiles or animals Mr. Mosier is raising were to get loose and get into our home, they could cause harm or possible injury or kill members of our household or any guests. Knowing that these animals and reptiles are being raised so near to our residence has caused us much stress and anxiety. We ask that you uphold and enforce the city ordinances as listed in the mailing that we received. Thank you for your time and allowing us to express our concerns about this matter. And that is signed Nathan and Betsy Parker. The other letter reads, in response to your letter dated August 1st, 2019, regarding raising rodents and snakes selling in a residential area in which we live is totally unacceptable to us. Rats and mice are disease carriers, and I really don't want our neighborhood in a rodent-infested area. I'm sure the city has spent time and money to control this. We are asking that this issue can be settled as soon as possible. Thank you. And that one signed Gerald and Phyllis Ullman of 127 South 9th Street. So those are the 2 letters that I have here opposing it. I see some folks here tonight. Is there anyone else here that is in opposition to it? Would you state your names?
Rick Nance.
Rick Nance. N-A-N-T-Z, Rick?
N-A-A-T-Z.
N-A-A-T-Z. Okay. Make those a matter of record.
Okay, so moved.
These 2 letters I'd like to make a matter of record, Bill.
So moved.
I'll second that. Phyllis? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
N-A-A-T-Z. Rick, you have any comments?
Odor's still there, it's still nasty.
Odor's still there.
I can't be in my backyard, you go in my back patio.
You live behind him?
I live down Jefferson Street, right next to him.
Next door. And folks?
Roman.
Roman?
Ray Roman.
Ray Roman. And any comments, sir?
The same as there.
The odor? Okay. Ma'am, are you with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Kurt, comments?
My only comment does have to do with the odor. And according to our ordinance, under nuisance, noxious odors or smoke, odors, smoke, dust, or other matter emitted from premises into the surrounding atmosphere and which render ordinary use or physical occupation of other property in the vicinity uncomfortable or impossible. The day we were down in Mr. Mosier's house, I had explained to him that when we would come in front of the BZA, which he has decided to come from Fort Works, that one of the questions they would ask me is if there was any issues that I have, and the one issue I have is the odor. When we walked in, the smell of, I don't know, it was pneumonia was about overwhelming, and it is reaching out into the neighborhood. So I told him, you know, first of all, he would have to have some type of air ventilation in that building. Not one, to purify the air in the building, but two, to purify the air leaving the building. And then the only other item we have is, according to our definitions, is a kennel. Now, kennel is considered to be a commercial type business. And according to our definition, any lot in which 4 or more dogs or small animals at least 4 months of age are kept. So the magic number is 4.
Would you read that again?
Any lot on which 4 or more dogs or small animals at least 4 months of age are kept. So the residence that Mr. Mosier lives at is a residential. It's not a C1, C2, or C3. So it's not zoned for business.
Okay. And Jessica, do you have any comments back there from the health department standards? You're just here in case we need you? Okay. All right, Mr. Mosier, you want to state your situation?
All right, kind of a bit of background. I'm currently a part-time student, but I also am an employee of Silverline, which I'm sure you're aware is closing. Due to the circumstances, I will be going back to school full-time. That's why I have not been pursuant of changing zones or going in front of the BZA to get a zone change, because as a full-time student, I would have no way to operate a business while being a full-time student. Since my current hours are pretty set and my schedule is fairly set to what I do, I have plenty of time to take care of the animals that are under my responsibility. I'm going to school for industrial manufacturing engineering for a Bachelor of Science, and what that entails is the amount of variables that someone has to deal with on a day-to-day standard in a very busy and complex environment. So when I decided to do this, I took all these variables in consideration, the risk, reward, the possible safety concerns. But I did not see any safety concerns to any amount. I understand that the ordinance says 4 under dogs or small animals, but these are reptiles. These are not meant to be out loose. These are enclosures. They love to be in small, tight spaces. They don't like to be out. Knowing that, they take up a very small amount of space. They take up less space than my 2 dogs that I currently have. I have an entire room for my dogs, whereas I use a quarter of a room for all the snakes that I own. Part of why I petition is mainly, yes, the noxious odors did come from garbage that I did not notice. I do suffer from being in a manufacturing facility, a lack of smell. So it's hard for me, so I do have people come over and smell. I've had people go up to the screen and smell and say they don't smell anything. I had been keeping rodents for over a year. It wasn't until one of my neighbors found out what I was doing by purchasing and erecting a professional rack for rats and rodents, because they are made out of steel and the tubs that they're contained in are high-strength plastic and designed not to be chewed because the rodents cannot get an angle on the tubs to be chewed out, so they are virtually escape-proof as far as trying to get it chewed out. So I understand people's concerns about escaping.
That's for the rodents?
It's a professional one. It has an automatic watering system. I just fill a bucket, twist a knob, and the water is automatically fed. There's a feed tray in the back for each level that I fill up. The only time I handle the rodents is when I do cleanings, which I try to do cleanings once every 2 weeks due to the, I use pine bedding shavings and also pine pellets, which usually reduces the amount of urine that is expelled through the air.
And all the rodents are in this right here?
No, not all of them. I do have my own homemade racks that I have built, and I am slowly reducing to get away from those because I'm not happy with the way they turned out. I'm not a very good carpenter, but I have been slowly reducing my use of those wood racks.
So you're raising mice and rats?
Mice, rats, and African soft furs, which is the natural food for ball pythons, which is the specific species I deal with in snakes. They are originally from West Africa. They are brought over, bred, and usually sold through the trade of different expos and events.
What is that there?
Those would be my snake racks that I personally built. They are made from different containers to hold whatever types of snake I have. The middle one is the baby rack. The one on the right is the sub-adult, and the one on the left is the adults that I currently keep.
So approximately how many snakes do you have?
I just had one clutch or eggs hatch. I have currently 41, including them.
That's from babies through adults, 41 snakes?
Yes. And one bearded dragon. I also currently have a bearded dragon. Part of two, and I understand people's fears between the rats and snakes. One thing is that captive bred rats are way less likely to carry any kind of disease and more prone to die from any disease. So if a rat were to be infected with any type of disease that is even remotely transmittable, it'll die before it really actually has a chance to escape. Because they are kept in an environment basically like a bed and breakfast. Here's your food, here's your water.
You have documentation supporting that?
I don't have it for rats, but I do have different documentation from websites with different, basically the threat of rats are different than the threat of reptiles, which I have easy research shows that there's no evidence of any actual harm coming from ball pythons, which is exclusively what I work with.
So are the snakes pets?
Yes.
They're pets?
They are pets. They are basically, I will turn this into a business eventually, but I'm going through school and I want to finish that before I even think of transferring it into a business. And part of the reason why the mount is kind of to put in perspective, if you look at the different genetics and combos that you have with snakes, currently there are 6,771 different types of morphs, which are patterns and color variations within the snake. The AKC only recognizes 192 breeds of dogs. So therefore there is such a variety in patterns and colors in these snakes and mutations that I could almost, if you really wanted to own every single one, you'd have to purchase almost 7,000 ball pythons, where any AKC registered dog breed, I'd only have to purchase 192 if I were to have that kind of financials and space and everything was in order for that. So that's why having the amount that I do is because there is such a variety amount, and there's more being discovered every year. So that would be my kind of my explanation, and each one has their own per se personality. I know what they do, I know what they like, I know what they don't like, but the one thing is they don't strike. If you handle a snake long enough, they don't strike. You're more likely to be bitten by either a youngling who thinks you're trying to eat it, or an adult who just laid eggs and you're trying to take the eggs.
Again, you have any data to support that?
Just from different research that I've done. I have reptileknowledge.com did confirm that a ball python cannot kill an adult human or a child, but it is theoretically possible to kill an infant, but there has been no recorded evidence of that ever happening. My emphasis on ball pythons because of the docility, because of the size that they get. They only get 3 to 5 feet long, and they only get to 3 to 5 pounds. They are not strong, powerful creatures. Their natural defense mechanism is to ball up. It is not to strike. It is not to be aggressive.
The adults get to, full grown, 3 to 5 feet long?
Yes. 3 to 5 pounds. I've got dogs that weigh more than that.
So then, back to the rodents.
Mm-hmm.
How many rodents do you have?
Currently, I would say probably roughly 100 to 150. I don't monitor each and every one of them. And the rodents, the only sole purpose is to feed the snakes. Because of the size of collection that I do have as pets for rodents, or as far as reptiles, excuse me, is because any other option of feeding them is truly expensive for what they take. I mean, trying to, plus travel, I mean, I sometimes have to go as far as an hour and a half just to find other rodents if I were to try to feed. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depending where people have rodents that I can use.
I just have just 2 comments.
Okay.
You're in the wrong area to do this,
Okay.
and you're too early on in your life to do this. You just indicated that you wanted to do this, which I don't know why, I mean personally, but you want to do it at a later date, you said, once you get your education done and are capable and willing to do it. I don't know why you're doing it. Are you gaining something with monetary?
There is the potential there.
Now, are you doing it now?
No.
Have you done it?
No.
In the past?
Not with snakes, no.
Okay.
Rats, I did sell my extras that I have. But snakes, I have not sold a single snake.
Well,
And-
and plus another thing, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I witnessed the smell. I was called out there, and I witnessed...
Bill's our code enforcement officer.
Okay.
I witnessed a smell, and it wasn't garbage in the back, okay? And I will say that you've been very cooperative, because I also tagged your refrigerators on your porch, which was a concern to the neighbor as far as children getting in, because they weren't set to be childproof, and you did get rid of those. The next day when I went by, after I witnessed the smell, I got the ammonia smell, okay? And through a little research, I found out that that's the way you clean things up with ammonia, because you're not unique. There's other people that do this, and you're aware of that. But they also do it in a rural area, out in a farm area, pretty much. So those are my comments. I appreciate what you want to do. I see the benefit to you as far as at a later date what you're going to gain from this, and I see your desire, which is strong, but with our ordinances it definitely prohibits this, and you can read into those ordinances what you want as far as dogs, what they weigh, how many dogs you have, and all this, but your neighbors, I guarantee you, do not want snakes and rats and mice next door to them, okay?
Okay.
If you're far enough away, like on a farm area, or I'm sure you have in your mind where you're going to locate this business, and I'm saying it's a business because that's what it is.
You're establishing a business.
Right.
You haven't sold anything, but you're establishing a business.
Yeah, you're not going every night and talking to these snakes. I mean, you say they're pets, but they're not a pet like your neighbors witness a pet, okay? So,
Okay.
that's kind of my only comment. The ordinances of the city are made to prevent things like this. This is unique. We've never encountered this. We encounter roosters, chickens, goats, pigs, this type of thing.
Horses.
Yeah, and we deal with them because that's what our ordinance says. So you can't isolate and say you have no snake ordinance, because you're right. But we do have a kennel ordinance, we do have a domestic pet ordinance, and this type of thing. So I guess that's my comment.
And my comment back too is, I can't see how someone's wants or not wants dictates what someone else does on their property. I understand the ordinances are there to protect everyone, but you can't say I don't like a neighbor's dog. I can't just say I don't like the neighbor's dog and have them removed.
That's right.
That, to me personally, that's how it just feels, is that these people don't like what I have, they fear what I have, because they don't know, they don't have the knowledge or possess the knowledge to know what I have. The reason I chose the species that is, Python regis, is because of their docility. I have them around kids. I educate people at work. I educate people at school. I understand you state it as a business, and to the longevity of it is because from birth, a snake male cannot do anything for at least 2 to 3 years, and a female cannot do anything for 3 to 4 years. So even if I had just one pair, it would still take me 3 to 4 years to be able to do anything. That's why, yes, in a sense I am establishing, but I'm not, because I can't do anything with them in that time period. They're just a pet. There's no other purpose for them. I do understand what you're saying as far as...
If I had a snake, I could see it being my pet. Maybe 2. 41? That's a lot of snakes.
And 100 rats.
Yeah, that's a lot of snakes.
It doesn't work.
I mean, I feel bad for you. I really do. I mean, because I respect your passion and your will and want to do this. But as Bill said, it's just the wrong location. It was July 12th. It's been not quite a month. And does it still smell today, neighbors? It still smells. I mean, it's not...
Well, it's going to, I'm sorry, but it's going to smell, okay, until he cleans it up. I mean, that's just logic, okay? And like I said, that day I drove through there, it smelled, okay? And truthfully, I looked for garbage. I looked for why that area right there, that garage, was smelling. So it's going to smell until he cleans it up. When he cleans it up, then you get a different odor. You get this ammonia type odor. And that's offensive to some people. Personally, my wife sprays my house, sprays the mold on my house with bleach and ammonia. And guess what? I get away. I don't want it. Okay? So those odors can be offensive also.
Jessica, can you comment from a health standard? I mean, is what you saw, and is there any kind of a health risk being posed here? Jessica Bergdahl is the Adams County Health, what's your title, health what? Inspector or?
Sure.
Okay.
Environmental director.
Environmental director.
Yeah. As far as, I know the city ordinance names the health department as one of the enforcers for odors. So that would probably be the main thing that we have, the air quality issues.
Okay.
I am currently in reduction of the rats. Like I said, I was getting ready to get rid of all the wood racks and all that, severely reduced, because I do know people who do have them in their living room. they clean them once a week, and they have no problems. They have no problems when people come over with smell or anything like that. It's just a matter of, yes, I have a lot, and I'm trying to reduce that to reduce the noxious odors. And I do believe originally the noxious odors and complaints came from when I accidentally left trash in the back. Yes, I did get it cleaned up, and I cleaned up the room, but I also had them for over a year before anything was even said. And no one's actually ever said anything to me personally. So if my neighbor would have came up and said, hey, we have a problem with this, can we compromise and fix this? I've been more than happy to. Definitely been more than happy to try to have a resolution to this, but no one said anything to me, and I just basically get a letter stating that I had 2 complaints against me for smell, and they stated that I had rodents and reptiles, and
Did you consider the fact that you were doing this in a residential neighborhood when you started? I mean, did you even think about that? I mean, the houses are pretty close together, and
yeah, but the...
I mean, I don't live on your street, but if it was my neighbor, I probably wouldn't be real happy either. I have to admit that. And like I said, I have nothing against your passion for snakes, and you're wanting to open a business to sell them. And breed them. I have no, somebody's got to do it, but I guess my biggest thing is just it's not the right location. You're not properly ventilated, both for what's in there and as far as releasing the foul odor. It's smelled 3 weeks ago when they were out there. It still smells today. I mean, it hasn't went away. And you are basically, by our ordinance, operating a kennel. So with that, I hope that you can find somewhere else to relocate these for, until you're able to get your business officially started. Are there any comments from any of the department heads or council members or anyone else here? Matt?
I'll speak up. I'm Matt Dyer, City Council at large. It's pretty simple. You can have 4 pets. He has 2 dogs. He can have 2 snakes. He didn't have 2 dogs. He could have 4 snakes. There's a reason we have these ordinances. I've had complaints of numerous cats before. It's not picking on one animal or another. There's just a reason we have ordinances as to how many pets. 41 is 41, not 4.
Well, then, I know you don't...
The rat comes out.
Yeah, exactly. I know you don't consider them pets, the rodents, but nonetheless, you have a lot of them.
There's a reason we can't have it now.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. So, Bill, do you want to make a motion or anything here, or does anybody want to say anything before we make a decision? If not, I would look for a motion, or I can make the motion.
Either or.
Go ahead.
I'm totally against it, so I would make a motion to not let you move forward with this project at this time. Like I said, since I've dealt with you, you've been very cooperative, and I think your hobby is a good hobby because I think you have a passion for it. But right now, you're just not in the right neighborhood. I know your neighbors probably haven't said anything, but I bet if you went around and took a poll of the neighborhood, they'd be totally against it. And they're not against you. They're against your hobby, per se. So I would make a motion just to reject your
The appeal of the notice to abate.
the appeal of the notice to abate.
I'll second the motion, but I echo his sentiments that I don't think any of the neighbors, how long have you lived there? Not that long?
I purchased in March of 2018, I believe.
Yeah, because I've been in that house by previous owners. When I heard that was the house, I'm really? Because I knew you couldn't have been there too long, but so you probably really haven't had a chance to get to know the neighborhood or know the neighbors that well. But
I've talked to quite a few of them. They all seem nice, and honestly, it just felt like after they found out that I did have rodents, that things just turned. Because like I said, I had them for over a year.
Yeah.
And to this day, no one's personally said anything to me.
Yeah.
So, I can only reiterate that if they had mentioned something, to me personally, I would have been more than happy to work with them. And if it would have been pretty much from the start, I probably wouldn't have started in the first place if they had voiced their concern. If they had noticed the smell.
And maybe you should have surveyed the neighborhood before you started, you know.
Yeah, this is my first home, so this
I understand.
is
Yeah.
to me. So,
Like I said, I'm not seconding this motion with happiness, okay? I feel bad for you, I really do. But unfortunately, I have to second the motion that Bill made. So, with that, we take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
And Tim is our city attorney. Mr. Baker, how do we move forward
Well,
from here?
Okay. I think Mr. Moser was given a period of time, 30 days, and what I would recommend is he be given at least that period to either relocate or shut down the operation, you know, in fairness to him. I mean, you can't do this overnight.
Exactly, and I don't know if you want to make it from this date.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
That
So,
gives
I
you
mean,
additional 30
okay,
days.
with the whole kennel, would I still be allowed to keep like 2 snakes, or at least 2 reptiles, per the kennel ordinance?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was just
Yeah.
making sure.
Yep.
Because it just said to remove all of them, so I wanted to make sure.
If you've got 2 dogs, keep 2 snakes.
Mhm.
And no rodents.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Best of luck to you. And you did a real good job, you know, explaining yourself and showing your passion. Like I said, I don't think we're doing this and happy about it, but it's something we have to do.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh. Next up on the agenda is in reference to a notice sent out to the residents of 1003 Schermeyer Street. And is there someone here representing that residence? That would be, okay. And I guess that you were sent a notice about excessive trash and whatever on the property. And Kurt, today, we had a department head meeting, and we requested Kurt to come out and check it out to see if the trash had been cleaned up, and he said he spoke with you today. Kurt, you want to comment first?
Yeah, actually, I spoke with him today, and he was actually outside trying to clean some stuff up. He had informed me that the tenants had moved out in the middle of the night and just kind of left everything there. So he was out there today trying to clean things up, and he had made some headway. It's still a little ways to go, but he's making an effort.
Are you John and Troy Hart?
I'm Troy.
You're Troy and that's John, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you don't live there, it's a house that you rent?
Right.
Okay. And the people made a good mess and then up and moved out? And stuck you with it?
You wouldn't be able to believe it, honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have the pictures in front of you.
Right here.
I don't know when those were taken.
7/18.
Are there vans and vehicles in these pictures?
No, they were previous.
They were all removed. Yeah, that's the letter I got though. It showed the pictures of all the vehicles, and I'm like, they're gone.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
But yeah, look,
That's the first I've seen that. So yeah, you do have a mess there.
Oh,
and-
yeah. I've got my foot cut out for me, I know.
Yeah.
But I did decide though when they moved out like that, but the next one that moves in is going to move in under his instructions. I can go in and check. Because messes like this is uncalled for.
Mm-hmm.
who purchased the shingles, Mr. Hart? You?
I did,
And what is your intentions there? Because the
Yeah.
roof is bowing
I know.
more all the time, so I guess I don't want us to go in and condemn your property
I've been
either.
trying to get it done, but I'm by myself, and it's giving me a tough wait, but we'll get there.
The shed in the picture too is the neighbor's shed, not part of that property.
That one right there?
Yes.
The pictures are
No,
just,
that one,
Wait a minute.
that one there in the corner is mine.
yeah, the
But
yellow one
there's-
is,
There's another one that's in the group of pictures that's not mine.
Yeah.
that one is.
Okay, so Kurt said you were out there trying to clean it up, you know,
Yeah.
and I look at you and I know that for me to go out there and try to clean up a mess like that all by myself, I couldn't do it.
Well, no, I wasn't actually by myself. I had my nephew with me. But then the truck wasn't on right. He was messing with the truck more than he was me.
Yeah, they were loading the truck up with some tires. There was some tires and some other stuff in there.
And the one that moved out was related to my nephew. And he was the one that was helping me at the time. He called her and tried to explain to her that she's going to have to get that stuff out of there. And I told him, well, you tell her that if she don't come and get it, I'll take it out and dump it in the yard. Of course, I don't think I can do that.
Nope.
But it sounded good.
So, do you have a plan on how we came out there? What was the date?
April.
No.
April or May, wasn't it? Kurt, the first? Look on
April
our
15th.
look on our spreadsheet there. You have it?
Well, it started back in April when we started. Started in April, May, June, July. It's now August, and you just now started cleaning it up.
No, it wasn't that big a mess. And then they started another deal, bringing in 2x about this wide and about this long, and I still got a pile of them I got to get rid of.
But if we sent you a letter back in April, there was enough of a mess that it needed to be cleaned up.
Yeah, I was informed that it needed to be cleaned up, and we was doing what we could, and then they started overpowering us. So the next time I read it...
It's been 3.5 months, and it's only gotten worse instead of better.
Yeah.
Actually, it's gotten a little bit better because back in April there was dams,
Okay.
bigger car parts than what are there now.
So, I mean, what kind of timeline do you think you'll need to get
I honestly don't... Right now I got it in my back. I honestly don't know what kind of time I'm going to have. I am retired, so I can spend days down there. The only problem with
But if your back won't let you, then
yeah, that's...
I get it, yeah.
So what kind of timeline are you thinking?
Well, like I said, we started sending notices in April, and it really, other than the vehicles and the car parts, hasn't gotten any better. Some of it's gotten a little worse.
Yeah. When my uncle called me and we talked about this, he notified me he was going to try to clean it up, and I notified him that the city of Decatur was going to condemn it anyway. Because one of your staff members told a friend of mine you were going to condemn it. And that friend told me. And I said, well, if they're going to condemn it, why are we going to clean it up?
And
That's
the first I've heard that. So I mean, you know, this is Decatur, and
so it's like,
rumors are out
small
there.
town. We're, what, 2,000 people? I don't know,
Yeah.
10,000?
Yeah.
Well, there's another case too I probably shouldn't even bring up. There's a nicer house across the street from this one, and they just come out and condemned it. But the people that were in that was druggies, and they went to jail. So that could have been the reason.
So we were just assuming Decatur was going to condemn it anyhow, so why waste our energy and our money having this stuff hauled away if this is your
Well,
intention?
there's different reasons why we condemn houses. And the house that you're talking about, the reason it was condemned is because they don't have any utilities hooked up to the house. By state law and by city ordinance, we have to condemn that house. Now, just because we condemn a house doesn't mean we're going to tear it down.
Well, this one I was told was.
If you read placards for the condemnation, it gives an opportunity to make everything right that's wrong.
And that's where we're at in the stage of those houses. We're waiting for that time period to give them the opportunity to bring it up to livable standards. It doesn't look like they're going to, and we'll likely tear them down.
And if I can interject one thing to answer your question, Mr. Hart, even if the city condemns it and does come in and raise the property, if they do, then you're on the hook for that cost. They come after you or the owner of the property. So it's to your benefit to clean it up as opposed to the city, because you're probably going to get charged more.
Yeah, you could probably hire, I mean, I know school's getting ready to start back up here, but if you could hire yourself a couple high school kids, get out there and just get all that stuff out of there. Probably be cheaper than, if we go out and do it, I think it's $160 an hour.
I'm just saying, if we go in there with the trailer and we clean this all up, get all this trash out of the yard, what about the house? Because you just mentioned the roof.
Yep,
The
well,
floor
that's-
awful.
Well,
and-
I mentioned the roof.
Yeah.
Only because I see it bowed. But I saw you had
Well,
to,
supposedly the rafters inside are not bowed, which
well, that's
doesn't make
good,
sense.
but I saw you had to shingle.
Once again, condemnation is
Yeah.
in order to demolish.
No.
Right.
Condemnation gives you a chance to go in and make it right. Now, let's say if you were to allow me to go through the house and do a structural inspection, I could point out some of the things that need to be brought up to code or fixed. Okay, that gives you the chance to come in and fix those items, and I don't have to come in and tear the house down.
I was thinking that house probably was built way back in the 50s, maybe even before
Could
that.
be. And I guess the ultimate thing is if you don't want to repair it, if you don't want to put money into it, then, you know, it would be up to you to
That
take
would
it
be up
down.
to my uncle.
Yeah, right. Then it would be,
My name is on the title, but I do not have anything really to do with the house. I don't repair it, I don't rent it, I don't upkeep it. My name's on there. And when I received this notice, I asked him to please have my name taken off this property, which we will pursue after this is finished here. And so it will not be my problem anymore.
yeah. And then it would be Mr. Hart to determine what you want to do with the property. I mean, there's no problem if you want to fix it up, but it has to be done, otherwise it's going to eventually become an unsafe building.
Right.
And then it does have to come down unless it's repaired, and the longer you wait to repair it, the more cost you're going to get into it.
I've discovered that.
Have you owned it a long time?
Oh, I've had it since my dad died, and I can't remember when that was. It's been years and years back.
I was under the impression that my grandpa built it.
Could have been.
Have you tried to sell it?
No. I got people that wanted it, but they don't want to make an offer. Well, no offer, no sell, you know.
I don't even know what a raised piece of property on Schermeyer Street would be worth.
I don't know, but there's people down there fixing them up. There's a contractor that's fixed probably 3 of them up down there. And I'm sure he'd be interested in that property if you would make it available, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't want to tell you what you're...
Right. It's not our place to make those decisions
Exactly.
for you. Those are your call.
Yeah.
But, you know, that at this point, and again, this is going to be up to Kurt, but if you need a little more time to get things cleaned up, and you're willing to do that, I would think that the city would work with you in that regard. If you don't want to clean it up, you know, then it's, we've given a notice to abate. So at that point, what happens is then the city comes in and does it and hands you a bill. And, you know, if that happens, like I said, it's going to be more expensive than if you found some
Yeah.
college kids or high school kids to help you come in and get it cleaned up. You're going to be able to do it a lot cheaper than if the city does it.
Well, see, I got no problem with if you say clean it up. I can get a trailer down there and I can have it cleaned up in a week. And
Well,
have
that-
everything hauled the hell out of there.
There's 2 issues.
But
The
what
first,
about the house?
yeah, well, the issue is the exterior, but then the second issue is the house itself. And
Yeah.
right now, we're not, to my knowledge, we haven't said anything about the house.
I haven't said anything about the house.
It's the exterior condition.
How long have the shingles been sitting there?
Almost a year. I haven't had the strength to put them up. I started to on the front side with my other nephew. He took the shingles up, and I put them on. And then I got bad, and I couldn't even get on the roof. And it was one of those situations where, you know, you get on the roof, do you fall? And I had to watch that pretty close.
Yeah, looking at, the rafters might be straight, but in between the rafters, I would say that whatever the sheathing is definitely sagging.
The rafters are 2 by 6.
Yeah.
They're not really going to go anywhere,
But that doesn't just need shingles, that needs something, you know, more.
Yeah, I know.
That needs
The
resheet.
rafters, The ceiling joists might be good, but the rafters may need to be reinforced in order to take the bow out.
And probably new roof sheathing.
Probably new roof sheathing.
So, I mean, I don't know if you have money to hire someone to do that. If we're banking on you doing that, I mean,
Yeah,
you got it in the back or whatever you say, so I mean,
yeah, but
it's been a year now.
We both kind of have a hand stretch, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
When I was down there all day today. I have a problem for that babysitter little one, and she'll be going to school.
Uh-huh.
And she only goes a half a day, but then I'm stuck babysitting again.
Well, here's what I would be inclined to start with you, Kurt, and Bill as the code enforcement officer. I would say we give you a little more time to get the exterior cleaned up.
Right.
Now, we can't promise what's going to happen to the house. That depends on you.
Right.
And how soon you want to repair the roof.
Yeah.
If you don't repair the roof, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get on it,
Yep.
and I know it.
Yep. So, Kurt, would you think, how long, 30 days?
So give them another 30 days.
30 days from today to get the exterior cleaned up, and we go from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Troy, you have any questions on that? Okay. So, I'll make a motion to that effect. Bill, you want to second that?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you for coming in. We generally have a third member of the Board of Works, but he's in Alaska this week, so there's just two of us here this
Oh,
week.
he bowed out,
So,
huh?
yeah, he bowed out on us this week.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
good luck to you. Thank you for coming in. Okay, so, at this juncture of the meeting, it was supposed to be about 20 after 6, and we're half an hour behind. So we're going to have to start flying through things here. Kurt, can you report on the house on 14th Street?
Yeah, 14th Street. This is a house we were called to a while back. An elderly lady was taken from the home, taken to the hospital. The house was in total disarray. You want to see pictures?
Nope.
Okay, good. I don't see anything. Since then, John and Trudy Eisman, Mr. Flanders, have gotten into the mix. One of the owners of the house, Scott Harmon, goes to their church. So they came in and they cleaned out the house. We went back to the house yesterday, and it's beyond repair. When we got there, they had turned the water on 5 days ago, and Nathan Shearer from the health department heard a hissing sound as he walked past the kitchen sink, and when he opened the doors, there was water spraying everywhere. So there's all kinds of water damage in the floor. There was water on the outside of the house. So we called the utilities, had them come down and turn the water off. After talking with Scott Harmon and Trudy Eisman, I guess the neighbors have offered to buy the property from Scott, but they don't want the house on. So Jeremy came down and we gave him a quote to demolish the house. Eismans are willing to front that money the day we tear the house down when it's complete, and then they will, from there, sell the house to the neighbors and recoup their funds.
Yeah, what they do after we tear the house down is none of our business. But if we can get a signature from someone, probably Scott, what's his last name? Scott Harmon, on a simple contract saying that we're going to be paid.
I think in the past, haven't we collected that up front?
We've done them either or. I feel more comfortable with this one this time since I've cleaned it out. I didn't feel comfortable before charging them beforehand because there was so much debris on it. So
Yeah.
The original quote was $6,000.
impossible
Okay.
to say that.
Well,
We could do it either way.
Well,
Have you seen it since they cleaned it up, Jeremy?
they don't pay it.
Okay.
Still put
I
a
was
lien
down
on
there
it.
yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with where we're at.
If Scott Harmon don't pay for it.
I would say let's collect it up front if we can.
If you can, if not, then have them sign a note that says it's due and payable once the work is completed.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like, while we need Scott's signature, okay, but it doesn't sound like he's paying for this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, whoever is agreeing to pay for it, that's who I would have.
So you may want both of them to sign it, because Scott can sign it, but if he doesn't have the money, and then,
Tim, we have our original agreement that we've used in the past.
Mhm.
It's still sufficient.
Should be.
Okay.
Matt asked for the owner to sign.
But I would include whoever's actually paying for it.
Okay.
okay, so by consensus, let's just say, proceed with that, Kurt. All right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move Tony Stimson up in the agenda, and not how we're going to get through everything, but Tony and Melissa, if you want to come up as well. Appreciate you coming in, Tony. We all somewhat know a little bit about it. Saw you on the news last night, you and your wife, and you're doing a good thing here.
Okay, so basically what we have here is my son and I own AGAW Trauma Systems. We've got bags throughout the county. The health department just got a grant here last year. So we've got these in all the schools in Adams County. My recommendation, I talked with Melissa, we've identified some areas within the city to look at bags, distribution of bags, what bag needs to go where. And basically all this is...
When you say a bag, that's the bag?
This is one of the bags. You know, like this, I would recommend something like this for some of the street department trucks, but depending, you don't need a whole lot of them, but wear and tear, that bag's going to be filthy. This is a Plano box. Basically what we carry in here is a couple of tourniquets, the go bags, things like that. It's just a quick medical trauma type kit that's going to get you where you need to be in a crisis type emergency situation. This is a small bag. Here, basically, it's just got 6 of the go bags, 1 tourniquet. Everything we have has directions. It's going to show you how to control hemorrhage, recovery position, and the other piece of this is the larger bag, say, the concert series. Some place we're going to have large gatherings. She and Melissa identified the swimming pool, Riverside Center, the New Hannah Nutman Pavilion area there. The bags are real simple. The concept behind these bags are grab and go. If there's a problem, I'm going to pull these out, I'm going to throw them. There's directions in each one of these bags going to show you how to control hemorrhage. Because the true first responder, obviously we saw what happened over the weekend, the true first responder are the people that are there, that are going to engage the situation if the scene's deemed safe. That's what it comes down to. It's not that hard, it's not that difficult. The thing that we offer, you can buy commercially from somebody else, we're going to do your training for free. That's what we have. So that's what it is in a nutshell. I know you're on a time constraint. I'll put together my recommendations to Melissa on what bags need to go where, and we'll kind of go from there and work through it if that's okay with you guys.
It sure is. Yeah, it is by...
When you first came in, we talked about what this building would need, and then we got into, well, are there other city properties and places where and a bag like this could be advantageous. And like you said, there's different forms. Not every location needs the giant bag.
No, absolutely.
So that's where Tony would come in and recommend what each location
like a city
would
truck.
need.
I would think like Jeremy's vehicle, I just, it's just a pickup truck, put a little bag in the glove
box.
That's all you need. You don't need a whole lot. Maybe upstairs, you go with the red bag upstairs if somebody would get upstairs. It's just not about active shooter. We've got tornadoes in this community. What are you going to do? So it's just not just the active shooter, violent type situation. You could have a natural disaster. You could have some structural problem with this building or someplace else. It's just having some resources there because in this day and age with what happened over the weekend, everybody talks about gun control, but the bottom line is it's still happening, but you don't have anybody that has equipment to stop the bleed. Obviously, you saw that last
Yep. Jeremy?
The safety committee met back in March, was the last time that we met, and this was a topic that we talked about is the first aid kits and such. But it went a little bit further. I had been talking with the hospital on doing some training because I just don't want to give the guys these bags and say, here you go, and then nobody knows how to use them. So
we'll do all the training. It's not a problem.
That would be great because we don't have a lot of training. Some of the guys have some don't have any. some of them have a hard time putting on a Band-Aid. You know, it's just that
do.
nature of the beast.
We'll have gloves and all
I
that.
shake too much.
But now, I'm sure the safety committee does. The safety committee hadn't met since March with all the projects and stuff going on, but we would support this.
I know the Decatur Fire Department, we have these kits, but they also have a hemostatic agent in it. What do we do, 4 tourniquets left? But we have, what, 2 of these boxes? 2 or 3, I don't remember. And Lenny's got, we made a donation to the police department with
Yeah.
hemostatic agent and tourniquets.
Lenny said each guy has their own
Yeah, and then
thing.
Lenny went and purchased the bags for their vests, or the little kits for their vests,
Yeah.
so, I would recommend, like, even for the PD, it's like even just a regular red bag.
At the PD.
And in case somebody came in and the girls were there, they had to deal with something.
Chances a lot of times with the street department is someone tangled into a piece of equipment. It's more, hopefully, way more likely.
Yep,
than a hot
exactly.
environment, so.
And like Jeremy said, you know, EMS for the most part is fairly quick. You got a law enforcement officer can be there fairly quickly, but, you know, if you sever a femoral artery, you're dead in 4 minutes. You are dead. You bled out. Within 2 minutes, you're incapacitated. And we got, and I'm a paramedic with the Allen County Sheriff's Department SWAT team. I've been on there 16 years. I've been in EMS for 38. And we have deputies in the Allen County Sheriff's Department that carry their tourniquets in their car or in their trunk. And I said, if you get shot, you're dead. You cannot get to your tourniquet quick enough. But they're old school. It's not going to happen to me. Don't worry about it. So, you know, take it for what it's worth.
Yep, work us up a quote,
I'll put a recommendation to her first
Yeah.
before we do a quote.
okay, that's fine. And then we'll, once we get that, we'll probably run it by the whole council just for
Okay.
approval.
But I want to get with Jeremy, and we'll kind of go from there, and some of the other guys, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Don, can you bring up those buildings at Northwest School? I received an email from Sarah Haggard Wolf, formerly Sarah Haggard, Sarah Wolf. Her note was in reference to one of the 2 small buildings, or those old apartment buildings that run along 12th Street, between 12th Street and Northwest Elementary. Right there. Her email to me reads, "This is Sarah Wolf. I'm sure you're aware with the school's construction project, we'll be moving into the access building down the road. I was curious if it would be possible for Hero Meals to stay where it currently is located on 12th Street, since the city has purchased Northwest. When we move, it has been brought to my attention this program could possibly share our new building." She didn't say that they could move there, but they possibly could. "I'm just looking to the future to figure out how much room, as well as supplies and materials we'll need to purchase when we move into our new facility." I've not replied back to Sarah yet. I guess as long as those buildings are there, I don't personally have a problem. I think they're just using one of the 2 buildings. So that, Wiley, you know something about it.
Yes, they're using the building on the left.
And it's kind of a storage place.
It's a storage, they have shelving units, and they stock up with canned goods and a variety of food items that then every week they prepare a menu and they pull from that and make facts for each of the students that are in the program.
Okay. And
And then
do you know where they're moving then? Why
that's
would,
taken home for the weekend, so that they have some meals for the weekend.
when she said they'll be moving into the access building down the road, I don't know where they're currently at, so I don't know where down the road
They're in
is.
the house, they're in the
On Monroe Street?
On Monroe Street at the parking lot. Access is the building where...
Next to that one?
Yeah, the alternative high school. They're moving that program out of that building into the high school. So it opens that space for Sarah's group.
So, I mean, they do have room out there if we want to, if we go to turn
I
these down or
don't
something.
know how much space Sarah
Okay.
takes. I don't know.
She'll take this, let her have it.
She'll take this if we let her have it, that way we don't have to move anything, they can continue on with what they're doing.
This program's been going on for at least 8 years. It's been very good. It's handled by community people. They're in and out. You don't even...
Is there a product that's in there? I mean, we're insuring those two buildings, but are we insuring somebody else's contents in there, Phyllis? I mean, is that even an issue with us, with this?
I didn't know anything with that. I don't know.
We don't insure other people's property. Our insurance coverage only goes to our own.
So should we tell her it's okay as long as they insure it, or they understand that we're not insuring it?
They need to provide proof of liability insurance and name us as an additional insured, because if we're letting them use it...
Yeah, I didn't know we owned those. I thought
it's part of the Northwest...
Oh, I need to let Darla know that, because I didn't know we even owned those. I didn't know that was part of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need, if they're going to use it, and they're going to have people coming in and out of there, then we...
Both of them?
Mm-hmm.
No.
We
She's
want
only
them.
using one, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're using the one to the left.
I'm sorry?
Used to be like GE.
Oh.
That's
So
the
Timmy
one
said that
she's
she would need to provide us proof of liability and...
Well, it wouldn't be her, it would be the
whatever the organization.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's community people.
Is it an organization?
Adams County Healthy
No,
Families.
it's from the grassroots, yeah.
Adams County Healthy Families.
Well, no, that's not who's...
That's who Sarah signed her name with.
I know, I guess she was speaking on behalf of them. I don't know
Okay.
why, but this is just a group of community people that had a passion for kids and wanting to make sure they had food for the weekend is how it started.
Yeah, and this was going on clear back when you were superintendent?
Yeah.
Okay.
So did the school assume liability if somebody got hurt there?
We would have.
So the issue then is, does the city want to assume that liability, or do you want to require somebody to provide liability coverage and names the city as an additional?
They're only there once a week?
Once a week, maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then I would say an average of possibly 2 hours scattered across the week, by bringing things in from time to time.
Okay. I guess I don't, myself, if we insure the buildings and no contents, and we let her know that, then the rest is on them, whether they want to insure it themselves or not. Does that make sense?
That's up to you. I mean, if you're insuring the building, and we're maintaining the liability coverage, if somebody's on our property and they get hurt, potentially we're at risk. So if you're willing to
So
assume
if they're
that
carrying
risk,
supplies in and they fall and...
if it were an organized entity, then I would say they should provide liability
Yeah.
insurance and name the city as an additional
These are
insured.
people like Louise Ray,
Right.
Larry,
And I-
Karen Carty, Karen Baker,
Yeah, I
So other
understand.
people, yeah.
So it's not an organized entity.
right.
Okay. I'll get back with Sarah then, and I'll tell her that we really don't know what the long-term plans are for the building, and until we know, she can continue to use it, and that we're only going to insure the building only and not the contents, and for them to be doggone careful in the meantime. That okay by consensus, Bill?
Is that a Board of Works,
At this point, if there's a cost involved, then it becomes a council issue with regard to funding.
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'd tear the buildings down.
Well, you know what? If our guys weren't so stinking busy right now, I probably would have them do that, but
Yeah,
they're really busy.
I understand.
Yep.
I mean,
Of the buildings, the one to the right is probably
Jeremy.
the worst.
if we have no use for them, though,
Right.
we're not renters. We don't.
Boilers,
we don't
Northwest.
wanna be in the rental business.
Right.
Jeremy
That sounded
emailed the Board of Works members and Phyllis and Tim about the chiller and boiler preventative maintenance at Northwest Elementary, and he sent us something here from Building Temperature Solutions. A long list of various maintenance things that they would do. Is this who Northwest used prior
Yes.
Okay?
That's who they had been using. BTS had a maintenance agreement for that building when it came up for the time to do the inspections and stuff. They contacted me, the school directed them to contact me to get in and just kind of look at the system. We looked at it just real briefly. They're finding that there was some problems with the chiller system and such. It had some fault codes in it and it really needed serviced. So I went ahead and had them service it because it wasn't running right when it was really, really hot this summer. And due to potential mold issues and such, we just went ahead and had that repaired. Looking at some other aspects of that system, it really needs for somebody to go through the whole system in general. So that is the first thing that we talked about, or one of the many things that we talked about, was just coming up with a maintenance agreement at least to get us back to square one here. There's a whole list of things that they do starting this fall when they would turn the boilers on all the way up through the spring. It's like a 12-month thing.
Long list of what they would do a lot of things to check off there. Then they come back in the spring, they got another check-off list, and they come back in July and they do it all again. So it is a very detailed list.
Not sure how we would pay for this, but that total to have them continue that service would be $6,350 for the year. Also, when the school system moved out, they took what is called the front end controls, which controls the system, the heat and the cool. What that front end does is you can control it from like a desktop computer or whatever, real similar to what's in this building. So now, currently, it's running on default. Whatever the default settings is what it's going to be. So right now it's at 76.9 degrees in that building. And without doing anything to it this winter, it's going to be 76.9 degrees in that building. So EBSCO's going to love you. So we are working, I met with them today, I'm working with their IT people and their control people to figure out what the front end controls would be. We pulled, and what they would cost, we pulled some panels on a few of the units because there was one back in the old kitchen area that was making a bunch of noise. We ended up having to shut that unit off because there's something wrong with it. They don't know if it's the fan or a belt or what. We didn't tear into it. So that kind of gives you a little bit of kind of a heads up on where you're at. I would highly recommend having them go through the whole system.
Bill, it's a Board of Works decision as to whether or not to recommend to council it's our decision to recommend that we do this. It's up to council to figure out how to fund it.
Right.
$6,350 for the maintenance. Now, while I'm talking about the maintenance at Northwest, Phyllis sent me an email yesterday and said, hey Ken, I got the electric bill for Northwest Elementary. It was $979. And we're not even using the building. And I went on to tell Phyllis that, shame on me, shame on us. When we accepted that school, we never really discussed the cost of keeping the utilities up. And the school shared that with me, back when we had some meetings early on. I think maybe a couple of the council members, I know Craig knows, and Cam, did you know?
We talked about it here, I remember this was like $50,000 a year.
Yeah, okay, we did talk about it in here? Okay. Mm-hmm. But we didn't talk about where Phyllis was to pay for it. So, I apologize to Phyllis, and that's something she's going to have to, I don't know if we're going to have to reappropriate funds the rest of this year and then get it added into next year's budget. Even more so, we need to find an entity to get in there and help us cover our costs. So, and I know we're working on that, but it's been kind of stagnant here lately. So.
Well, we took it on, we need to maintain it.
Yep.
My only question is, this company versus, we turn everything in this building over to that Felderhart. What does this company do different than Felderhart
This company's familiar with this particular
It's
system.
boiler system, Matt. We don't have boilers here.
Yeah, we need to maintain it. We took it on.
We at least need to stick with who they
Yes.
originally used until we get all the bugs and stuff worked out. 'Cause there's
Bill, would
so
you
many
recommend
systems in that building.
that we enter into a maintenance agreement?
I certainly would.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that, and then I'll bring that before council again here in just a little bit.
Aye.
Aye, too. Barb, we're going fast over here. Thank you. Jeremy, maybe don't run off, not yet. At the last BZA meeting we had, it was in reference to, Don, if you want to bring that picture back up you had up, out there at Grey Goose subdivision, it was in reference to a fence, and that home right there, the BZA allowed them to put a fence up, and the person across the street was concerned about the vision as you approach that intersection. And right now there's a yield sign there. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommended to the Board of Works that we change that yield sign to a stop sign. Right, it's at the Grey Goose subdivision.
Okay. So which street is going to be stopped for
That is
Blue
Blue Heron Cove. We'll
South
need,
of Grey Goose Boulevard.
we'll need change to a stop sign.
You can change that back. We had it at stop for a long time.
Is that right?
And then we had a request to change it to yield. So I guess now we're changing it back to a stop.
There you go.
Done that before.
Blue Heron Cove, it's going to be a stop and a through.
Blue Heron Cove's a very short street and only has about 5 houses on a cul-de-sac.
Blue Heron
there.
Cove was stopped for traffic on, what street is it?
Grey Goose Boulevard.
Grey Goose
Grey
Boulevard.
Goose Boulevard.
Yeah.
Bolt should be pretty easy to get out of that one.
Bill, you make a motion to do that?
Yeah, certainly.
I'll second that motion. Barb, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Barb, if you make a note of that, we'll be changing that to a stop sign. Tim will take care
Have
of the...
to do an ordinance amendment.
Tim will have to amend the ordinance, and then we'll take it to council from there.
The person that wanted it to be a yield sign filled it out there.
Jeremy?
I didn't hear about it till a week or two ago, and I didn't know, so. Yeah.
The dog park and the men's softball, can we maybe keep that until, if I have time, I will, but I'll come...
Just go on.
Okay.
Get more information.
Lenny wanted to report to us this evening that 3 people have put their name in for the detective position that is open, and he's going to have interviews August 26th here at City Hall between 9:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. And I told Lenny this morning in our department, or this afternoon in our department head meeting, to just tell the gentlemen that are coming in for interviews that they don't need to put on a suit and tie, that just come casual. They'll be more
They
comfortable.
look nicer, look at Cam.
Okay. No, they can't look as nice as Cam. I know these 3 guys.
Lenny does the interviews or Board of Works is doing the
Board of
interviews?
Works will do the interviews.
August
Be
26th.
executive session.
Okay, so I need to post that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll have an executive session of the Board of Works right here.
Okay.
And you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm gonna email him tonight and just let him know so make arrangements. And I guess
You set up the order of them coming in?
I went by seniority.
Okay.
First will be Jamie Tharp, then Kevin Gerber, then Derek Loesch.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you.
What time was it? I'm
It's
sorry.
at 9:30 a.m. is the first one, between 9:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. on August 26th.
Lenny, did you want to do your hood thing?
He wanted to talk to me about it.
Oh,
before.
okay, good.
We probably won't get to that tonight either.
That's fine.
Derek Loesch.
Tim, refunding of the bonds for our sewage works bond.
Okay. Crow Horwath received an analysis done by Hilliard Lyons with regard to our 2008 sewage work SRF loan. Their analysis indicated that we would have a 5.8% savings, or roughly $317,000 savings by refunding or refinancing that bond issue. They recommended that you do that because anytime you get at least a 3% savings, that's their recommendation with regard to refunding, and this is almost double that. Pardon? About $317,000 over the remaining 10 years. So it's current value. And so what they're saying is it makes sense to do that. We've talked to Crow, we've talked to Ice Miller, Patty Zelmer, who has been the attorney that we've used on past sewage bond issues. Makes sense to continue to use her. She's familiar with this. So Crow and Hilliard Lyons are recommending that we go forward with the refunding. That's up to the Board of Works. But the benefit is that you save that amount. You're going to spend a lot of soft costs to do it. I mean, that's...
So what is the cost to make that happen?
Well, we've got engagement letters already from Ice Miller, from Crow. You're probably, when everything's said and done with the underwriting, the premium fees that you pay, it's probably about $110,000. But you can't avoid that. I mean, to save $300. We had the same thing.
But you're saving, right?
No, you're saving 300-some thousand. That's a net. That's a net.
That's our net.
After
cost.
After the cost. Okay, well,
No,
It's a no-brainer.
you didn't say that.
that includes the soft cost.
No, it's the same, it's just same amortization period. It's a
Still pay it
loan,
off in the same-
the state, you still pay it off in the same, you're just getting a lower interest rate is where it amounts to.
Payoff date remains the same.
Bonds mature in 2029, I believe. But typically on a bond issue, you have to hold the bonds for a minimum, usually it's at least 10 years, before you can refund. And this analysis was done before the most current rate decreases, so you're probably going to stand to save a little bit more. How much, I wouldn't have a clue. But that's their analysis.
Here's the cost.
We refunded the water bond. I know South Adams refunded their building bond a couple years ago, did the same thing. So,
I'll make that recommendation.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
And then this will get brought up at the council meeting also. That was our as a recommendation from the Board of Works.
and then you have, if you're going to use Crow Horwath, if you're going to use Ice Miller, if you're going to use Hilliard Lyon, if you're going to use me in the capacities of bond counsel in the case of Ice Miller, Hilliard Lyons as the underwriter, Crow Horwath as the financial advisor, myself as local counsel, then there's engagement letters that need to be signed. We have them from Crow, Ice Miller, and myself. I don't know about Hilliard Lyons. We'll probably get something from them too.
You want to make a recommendation that the mayor has that
Authority to sign those?
I'll make that recommendation.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on here, and then we'll, like I said, we'll approach this again in the council meeting. Kurt has talked to Innovative Concepts, as I think most of you know. You know, we have the video camera system throughout the building that shows people coming and going in the lobby, from the back doors, in the hallways. And that's operated by Innovative Concepts Audio Video, and they approached Kurt about a 2-year maintenance contract for the surveillance system. Maintenance of the parts. They do a visual inspection of the cameras, the recording equipment, the remote viewing stations. It says they're going to give training and consultation, which is something they have, okay? And this would cost $2,500.
That's every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
We can do it on a yearly basis if we want short.
So pay half now and half again. Okay. The cameras are sure nice to have, I know that. We've utilized them more than once on various things. So,
What are you recommending, Kurt?
That Kim signed it, gives it to Phyllis gives it to Wendy.
I'll make that motion.
thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Bill. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, thank you.
Easy.
I'll sign that later, Phyllis. Taylor Gage contract. Taylor Gage is doing the work on the sidewalks out front. We hadn't made his contract a matter of record, and we need to do that.
Jeremy, did you get the...
Jeremy.
Yeah.
You did get Exhibit A?
Yes.
Okay. And Tim, have you looked at this?
Yeah. I haven't seen Exhibit A, but Jeremy said that he had sent it.
Yeah.
Who'd you send it to, Jeremy?
Both of you, you and Phyllis.
I didn't get
I didn't
anything.
get it either, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Was it after 4:30?
Well, it's like 11 o'clock this morning.
No, I didn't get anything. That's why I was wondering. I thought maybe you just sent it to Phyllis.
No, it's right after you were emailing it. I'm looking up here.
What's the gist of Exhibit A?
It's basically just the description of the work, the scope of the work that we had asked for. We get quotes for the project.
Okay. So, Tim, I just need to make this a matter of record, is that right?
Yeah, and we just need to get,
And okay for me to
have
sign
Jeremy, yeah,
it? Me and Jeremy to sign it?
yeah. Well, no, you're signing it, but
Yeah.
we need Jeremy just to get the Exhibit A so that we can attach it.
Right.
Because Phyllis needs that to upload it to DLGF.
Yep. Jeremy will check why the email didn't go through and send it again or whatever, so. Bill makes that
Make that
motion,
motion.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, thank you. We're getting there. We have 14 items on this thing tonight. Monmouth Road Lift Station, can you bring that up, Don? This lift station out on Monmouth Road, where you turn by Highway Service and head out, on the right-hand side, there's the little brick lift station thing that's right there. The land both north and south of that lift station, it's only so wide, but nonetheless, there is land right there, and it is owned by Gina Winger, and she approached me about whether or not we would want to sell it. We talked about this at the last Board of Works meeting, and we tasked Kevin and Don and Jeremy and Phyllis. They all tried to find out whether or not we had easements that went through those areas, and we do not. So, can you highlight them? Yeah, there, that's it. One to the north, one to the south.
Are those two separate parcels?
Nope, it's one parcel.
Do we own in the middle?
Yes, we own in the middle.
Why isn't that two totally separate parcels?
I don't know.
And that really goes with Flippers.
Well, it doesn't go with, it's separate from Flippers, but it's owned by the same people. Now, what's it say the name of the entity is? It's Finish Line Investments.
That's really weird.
And I think it's, overall, I think it's like 5 acres. I mean, it's not,
5.38 acres.
yeah. And looking at the property tax records, I think it had an assessed approximate value of about $21,000. So it's either we go through all the effort and work of getting some easements through there. That, is it the southern one that has like 3 different lines running through it?
You want me to bring up the...
Do we need to buy the north one?
You can't buy them separate if they're together.
We have an easement that runs through the north one, but not the south one.
I don't understand why they're in two totally separate parcels. They're not contiguous.
Well,
Anyway, one thing you could do, we could, if you want, we could do a lien, or a judge, I shouldn't say, a record search to see if we have any easements that go through that southern part. If we know that we have that easement on the north part, okay, well then we probably ought to do it on both. If we don't have any records,
Well, that far as sewer lines run through there. The problem is the three manholes that set to the south of the lift station don't fall on our property. According to that other, if you switch to that other map, kind of look at it, there's the building, you see the property line goes right to the edge of the generator in the building. And if you zoom in, you kind of see the manholes in the tree area. We don't know.
Tim, when something is like that and it's all one parcel, can that parcel then, could we split it and just purchase the southern parcel?
I would assume you could, if they're willing to do that. I'm not sure how the county has that as one parcel when they're not when it's not
Well,
contiguous.
this is not an emergency, and because of the sake of time, we have a council meeting in 4 minutes. I would say, let me just table this again and let's do some more research on it.
One thing, did anybody talk to Brett Miller to see if he had any records of easements? Because I think he did a lot of survey work when, at some point on this project, so maybe he came across something. Brett's gone this week, he'll be back Monday, so maybe somebody can get in touch with him just to see if he may have anything. The other thing, if you want, I can do a judgment or a record search to see if we can locate any easements that run through that property.
I would do that.
What's the cost of that?
Yeah, well,
You're
not
looking
free.
at $100.
No, but...
If that's all, then yeah, I think it's worth it.
I'm sure that we have easements going through there.
If we do that, then hopefully we find easements, and then we can provide copies for our records, and that may dictate whether we have any interest in the property.
Exactly.
If we don't have easements, then we need to do something. Yeah.
Back when Buckeye was here on the,
Oil spill.
they did lay a temporary, what at the time was a temporary stone path on the north end, right to the bridge.
Yep.
And we did some paperwork, so
And that's what she said, it was mentioned to her back then that maybe the city would want to buy that, and that's why she called me.
So I guess we inherited from Buckeye.
Let me sign it right now. Or you want to wait till we get that?
Paid parking access, or stoned hard parking to go back.
Very last page,
wherever
is that right now?
Which became a good access. We did some things with Rod and the Mummy River Basin and John August with the EMA to make sure that, so we do have a little interest in that north one.
Okay.
Well, let's see what we can find first. If we don't have easements, we need to get the ability to be able to go across somebody else's property. It isn't the first time we've run into this. So then we can check to see whether, if she wants to sell, then it depends on what the price is. If that's not something we're interested in, then we can see what it would take to get an easement. But again, she has no obligation. We'd literally have to condemn the property at that point.
Do we got to go through appraisal processes and all
If
that?
it's under 25,000, you don't.
Okay, and this would, I think, be under 25,000. I have signed, here's the thing from Innovative.
Yeah, I think
It's sold.
Did it sell?
It's sold. And I talked to Coyle, Eric, he said they screwed him out of that property. And that
Bring it up
was
at
his
the council
exact
meeting to
words. So
determine how we're going to...
you don't need to put that on record, Barney. Yeah.
Actually, that... Okay, I think we're there, Bill.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are officially adjourned from the Board of Works meeting.